inside a little bit. Pshat, Perek Chaf Aleph. V'zois Toras ha'adam. This is a great beginning. Zois Toras ha'adam. This is the way it works with a person. Toras ha'adam. Shebe'ez iskay b'Torah lishma. That when a person learns Torah lishma, and here we have, if you have a sefer, like, I know we're against Shiurim here, but if you have a sefer, it's really very helpful. It's an unbelievable sight. Shebe'ez iskay b'Torah lishma. When a person learns Torah lishma, which means lishmar ulakayim kechol hakosava, that I'm learning for the purpose of being able to keep the Torah. Meaning, what his definition here, in any case, of Torah lishma is lishmar ulakayim kechol hakosava. Why am I learning Torah? Because I want to know what to do, which is very different than what he says in Shaar Daled, that Torah lishma is I'm learning Torah dafka not to know what to do. I'm learning Torah l'shem Torah, like I'm learning kachim, I'm learning things that have nothing to do with me, what to do. But here he says, which is interesting, just as a ha'ara, which is the pshat limud Torah lishma is to lishmar l'kayim. Mitayer eskufay meiroshay ve'ad raglav. So this learning Torah lishma purifies the person. Mitayer eskufay, it purifies the body of the person. Meiroshay ve'ad raglav, from head to toe. Now you remember, like we've been learning for the last few weeks about head to toe, that we learned about that the heels of Adam Harishon were shining. We learned about Ekev Tishmun. We even learned about a Shaar that has to be tar head to toe, Parsoisav, and how the Shaar Shehikriv Adam Harishon, it came out first his head and then its toes. In other words, the idea is completely permeating the body. And that's what Torah Lishma does. In other words, after we discussed last week about what is the purpose of Torah? What are we being masaking? So here he's saying that you have to know the Torah is Matayres Gufay Meiroshe V'Ad Raglav Kimidrashim Chazal, like the Gemara says in Brachas, Lama Nismachu Alim L'Necholim Ma Necholim Malanas Adam Mituma L'Taraf Olam Malanas Adam Mikav Chayva L'Kav. Now you may have come across this Gemara before, and like I just went over it quickly, but there's a very deep Gemara here that we need to learn together in the Gemara in Brachas. But the Gemara says, Lama Nismachu Ohalim L'Necholim Ma Necholim Malanas Adam Mituma L'Taraf Olam Malanas Adam Mikav Chayva L'Kav. First of all, does anybody know Hebrew well? Is Ohel is a tent, right? Is that a Lashon Zachar or a Lashon Nekeva?
Normally we say Ohel.
And Masechta says Masechta Olos. But in the Gemara it says Ohalim. So the only way, at least I know, a Zachar from a Nekeva is from the plural. Banim, Banos. Right? But Ohalim or Ohalos. Also, just I'm a little bit paranoid about it because I asked once my Rebbe a question, and I said, I have a question, Masechta Ohalos, and he said, Ohalos. No such thing as Masechta Ohalos. So why not? Ohalos. It's an Ohalos. So he corrected me and he said it's Ohalos. Which must be important, but it's stuck in that's the only word I say right now. It's Ohalos.
Because I think in modern Hebrew is Ohalim.
Well, the Gemara, modern Hebrew, Gemara Brachas. So let's look at this Gemara, and I want to point out. I want to learn this Gemara. The Gemara says like this: Amar Rabbi Chama b'Reb Chanina. This is in Gemara Brachas Tesvav Amud Beis. Amar Rabbi Chama b'Reb Chanina. Lama nismachu oy halim. I have nakudas in here. I have nakudas. I'm just reading. Lama nismachu oy halim l'necholim. I'll show you how important this might become. Why does it say oilim next to necholim? Anybody know where it says that oilim next to necholim? So I'll tell you where. This is what we have to talk. Bilam, we're all talking about Bilam now. Bilam said, Ma toivu oy halecha Yaakov, mishkenoisecha Yisrael. So he looked down at Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar, and he said, Rashi tells us, Ma toivu oy halecha Yaakov, how beautiful, how good are your tents, Yaakov, Shara Pischem She'ena Mechuvanim Zeh Mul Zeh. They were respecting each other's privacy, and they didn't make doors one to the other so you could see everything that's doing in the other person's house. They were makbid to put the doorway of their tent not in front of the doorway of the other tent. And from here we learn out, by the way, all kinds of hezekriya. You're not allowed to build a window that's looking into somebody else's window. That's the halach. That's Matoivo Elach Yaakov. So Bilam noticed this and became the halacha. Mishkenoisecha Yisrael. Dover Acher, another pshat. Matoivu Oyal Lecha, Matoivu Oyal Shiloi. Oyal Shiloi. Right, that was the Mishkan. Ubeis Solamim, the Beis Hamikdash, B'Yeshuvan. Shemakriven Bahen Karbonis L'chaper Alecha. Mishkenoisecha Yisrael. I believe that Rav Hirsch explains just Pashat Pshat. Matoivu Oyal Lecha Yaakov, but oil is when you're transient. When you're on the move, you plant a tent, you pitch a tent. Right? Tent is when you're moving. And a mishkan is when you're there more, when you're more settled for a while. Also on the move, because it's a mishkan, not a bias, but there's three things basically. There's an oil, there's a mishkan, and there's a bias. And Rav Hirsch says that like sometimes you find a nation which is very beautiful when they're nomadic. But if you have to live with them, not so pashut. Sometimes you'll find a nation which is great when they're in one place, but if they're on the move, like they become desperate and you can't deal with them. But Bilam noticed that Matoivu oy halecha Yaakov, that Bnei Yisrael are beautiful when they're on the move, and Mishkenoisecha Yisrael, and even if they stop and they build, they're also beautiful. Like they're beautiful under both circumstances, whether they're running or whether they're sitting. They're nice. We're often on the move, but Baruch Hashem, like now we're maybe settled a little bit more. So we have a beauty in both ways, but it's two different things completely. And Bilam noticed this. So then the pasuk says, Kincholim nitayu, like rivers do they flow. Nitayu means a river forges its own path. A river goes, the water forges its own path and makes, based on many trajectories, figures out which way it's going to go. So that's the way. So that's called nitayu. Kinecholim, like a nachal, like a brook. Nitayu forges away. Kiganois. This is all Bilam talking about Klal Yisrael. Kiganois alei nahar. They're like gardens on the bank of a river. Very lush, very beautiful. Ka'aholim nota Hashem. And like aholim, tents, nota Hashem. Ka'arozim, who plants a tent? Ka'arozim nota Hashem. Plant. Why plant?
Arozim they use for the...
No. Ka'aholim nota Hashem.
It's like permanent, sort of like permanent tents.
There's such a lotion of nota oholei. Oholei. Bayita oholei. There's such a thing, right? Why? I guess because you put the spikes in the ground. It's like and out grows a tent. Ka'arozim, and like cedar trees, which are very strong, alei mayim, on the water. So Bilam gives like a beautiful. Each one needs an analysis over here. That we are matoivu elecha Yaakov mishkenoisecha Yisrael. L'chayr is referring to the oyalim. Matoivu elecha Yaakov mishkenoisecha Yisrael. What are we? What is Bnei Yisrael? What is our oyalim? Kinecholim nitayu kiganois alei nar ka'aholim nota Hashem ka'arozim alei mayim. Comes Rashi and he says ka'aholim, which we just translated as tents, because that's what an oil is. Ka'aholim kitargumai. Loshin mar ve'acholois. So that's a pasuk in Shiurim. Mar is myrrh, and ahalois is aloe trees. So an ahal has nothing to do with an oihel. Let's just shot. Ahalois is a type of a spice, and therefore the pshat is that he's not repeating. They forge their way like brooks. They're like gardens on the bank of a river. Ka'aholim nata Hashem, like beautiful spices that Hashem plants. Ka'arozim, and like cedar hursts, alemayim. So that makes much more sense in the pasuk. So what we have here in terms of our Hebrew for the day is that there are oihalim and there are ahalim. Oihalim, or ohalois, if you will, are tents, and ahalim are certain kind of aloe spices. I don't even know what that is. Maybe related to the aloe vera, but it's a certain kind of a plant called ahalim, and ahal. Nothing to do with a tent. We can make drashas, but it has nothing to do with a tent. The problem is that the Gemara does make a drasha, because the Gemara says a drasha, laba nismachu lechalim la'aholim. Right? Rivers and tents, not to Hashem. So the Gemara, at least according to Rashi, is learning wrong shot in the pasuk. So says the Gemara like this: Lama nismachu oihalim lenechalim. D'chsiv ki nechalim nitayu ki ganois aleinar ka'olim nata loymar lecha. And this comes to teach you that man nechalim malam es adam mituma l'tahara. Just like a nachal, you can toivel in a nachal and it makes you tahar. It's like a mikvah. A nachal is like a mikvah. Af is a natural body of water. Af oihalim, same thing as with the oil, which is a tent. Malan is adam mikav chayva l'kav schus. We're going to get into that in a second, but it'll bring a person up, just like a mikvah brings a person up. So does the oil of Torah. So Rashi says here in the Gemara. Rashi the Gemara. Remember, Rashi, bear with me a little bit of the technology because it's very important. Rashi in Chumash tells us that don't make a mistake. Ahalim are not oihalim. Ahalim are spices. Rashi here in the Gemara, where he has to make sense out of the Gemara, that there's a kesher. So he says ahalim lama nismachu ahalim lenachalim. Says Rashi kinachalim nitayu ka ahalim nata. We see that they're going together. So Rashi. Ohalim bate midrashais, ohalim lashon netiya, because we find the idea of planting a tent. Neifelas behem shenemar vayita ohali apadena. I don't know why he doesn't use your pasuk, because you have to go all the way to Sefer Daniel. It's right in Chumash. Vayita ohalai. So Rashi here is learning that ahalim means bate midrashas because it means tents. And we find, and he brings a raya to this, he says, we find that a tent is called, we find that you can use the lashon of netiya, planting by a tent, because it says vayita ohali, or vayita ohali. So Rashi in Chumash is Seiser, Rashi in Gemara. Rashi in Chumash says ahali means a type of a spice. And here Rashi says that ahalim is a tent. So which is it? What's the pashut of shot in the pasuk? How could it be a tent if it says planting? Because we say planting by tents also. So l'chayra Rashi and Chumash is saying what the pshat in the pasuk is, and Rashi the Gemara is trying to figure out what the drush is. So Taisus asked the kasha. Taisus says, "Ahalim l'nechalim, tents. What are you talking about? Ahalim in this case is spices." He brings in the Rashba. Hiksha Rashba dahubim samimhu. Kitargumai, the Targum says before that we're talking about besamim, we're not talking about tents. Everybody following me here? We're talking about besamim, about tents. Miloshin mor ve'ahalois. So the Rashba comes along. Tosfos brings this. What's the kasha? The Gemara labad nismuchu oilam lenachalim. Not because it says in the Torah. He argues with Rashi. Ka'holim nata, right? K'nechalim netayu ka'holim nata. No. The smichas is going back a pasuk. Ma toivu ayalecha Yaakov. That's for sure talking about tents. And then it says that is kinechalim netayu, that those tents are like nechalim. So says Tosfos argues with Rashi. He says that it's not going on the second ahalim, which is spices. It's going on the first oil that Bilam was talking about toivu alecha Yaakov. So what we have here is an interesting machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. What is the Gemara? What's the pshat in the Gemara? Is the pshat in the Gemara that the smichus hamilim is from toivu oy halecha Yaakov, from the tent to the brook, or is it from the brook going further to the spice? If you say it's from the brook to the spice, Rashi is very fair. First of all, he says to himself, and second of all, it's wrong shot in the pasuk. The pasuk is not talking about tents altogether, so you have to make such a drasha. But for some reason, that's what Rashi does. Okay, so I'm looking here in the Mefarshim, Pirush Rashi, V'Tosfos, V'Rashba, after the Tarvayu emes, they're all emes. Okay, we could be B'Yashiv that Gemara. Maybe Meshach Hazman will be B'Yashiv Rashi over here. It's a Pella on Rashi. Pella on Rashi, that he's learning. Ahalim means Batei Midrashos and not spices. But let's get more to the Indian here. Let's go with the Tosfos because it's more pashut pshat. Batoivu oy halecha Yaakov. That Bilam says how good are the tents of Yaakov. They're just like brooks, just like lakes, like brooks. So the Gemara says, what's just like brooks? What's the connection between the brook and the Torah? Says the Gemara, Ma necholim. You can toivel in a brook. Ma necholim malam es ha'adam mituma l'tara. Basement. Right? Person's tamei, they go into a brook, go into a lake, into a mayan, to a mikvah, and they become tar. Af oyalim, same thing as with tents, meaning batei midrashos. Rashi says you go into the base medrash, malanas ha'adam, from what? What happens when you go into the base medrash? Malanas ha'adam mikaf choiva lekaf schus. Takes a person from kaf choiva to kaf schus. Like on Nechos Tshuva, the Rambam says that if you have mostly, like life is like a scale, so if you have mostly averos, so you're a rasha. You have mostly mitzvahs, you're a tzaddik, and if you're straight, balancing in between, you're a beinoni. So this on a scale you have two kafs. A kaf is like a cup. You have two things that you put the weight on. When you put the weight, when you put the thing. So the idea in a scale is to get it, beinoni. But so when you're talking about dan lekaf schus, what we're talking about when you're saying to be dan a person lekaf schus, we're talking about put a little more emphasis and weight on the schus. Maybe it's okay. Take off a little bit of the weights from the other side. Chill a little bit. Don't give the person such a hard time. Take off a couple. Take off and let it go down. That's the idea of being down l'kav schus. You want a Kadosh Baruch Hu to be down us l'kav schus, just like when the Gemara says, down a person l'kav schus, Kadosh Baruch Hu yodin oisay. Hashem will be down us l'kav schus. Take off a little bit of weight from the other end and be down l'kav schus. So now here's a person who's full of averos, and he's mamish way down on the other side. He's kaf choiv. So just like a mikvah is mitaher a tameh and brings them from tuma to tara, so too can Torah, or learning in a base medrash, take a person from not tuma to tara, but from kaf choiva to kaf schus.
It sounds like it's not a positive thing. It sounds like if you in Kaf Choiva, so go and learn, not like the Icarus to.
Very good. You're a lamdan. Or else I'm a lamdan, or neither one of us are a lamdan. But it's babish because what's a mikvah seif kol seif? A mikvah is the pshat that a person has tumah, and you go to the mikvah and you get rid of the tumah. Silat hatumah. Chayra. What's tara? Tara means chayra, then you're not tamei. How did we get from
Absence of that.
Yeah, like just taking away the negative to Torah just takes away some kind of a negative? Is that in other words, it works like a mikvah. There's a big chiddush of the Gemara. It works like a mikvah. Now the Nefesh Hachaim is working with this, and he's saying, well, a mikvah like is B'tayr your whole body. You can't be B'tayr just your finger or your head. So too Torah is B'tayr your whole body. But I'm curious to know, what does it mean that it's B'tayr your whole body? Also, how do we get from Tumah and Tara to Schus and Choiv? Like, is that the same thing? Schus and Choiv is mitzvahs and averes. Tumah and Tara is another kind of a mitzvahs. So
the Torah, once you become schus and you keep learning, you're not going to be stationary. It continues. Where a mikveh, once you're tahor, you're tahor.
Until you become tamei again.
Yeah, but you can sit in the base midrash all day and continue to be more and more schus.
By the way, just Agab, while we're here, parenthetically, the Mefarshim say in this Gemara that according to Rashi, it's not even the learning; it's the oil. It's going into the base medrash. The Abaratzim that don't know how to learn, they should sit in the base medrash. Just the sitting in the base medrash or Batei Knesios. It says, Bilam taught us is Matoivo Elach Yaakov. Like there's something to be said for just the kedusha of. It's like a mikvah. It's like going to the mikvah. So he brings here. There's a pirush on the Ein Yaakov called the Anaf Yosef, and he brings from a sefer called Me'ein HaBrachos, which is a sefer on brachos, but I don't know who wrote that sefer. But he brings from the sefer. He brings something which is Gewalt. He says, "Ma necholim malanas hada mituma latara. Hainu matayr achar tuma. Person is tamei, and now you're come out of the mikveh, you emerge pure, tahar. Af olim Torahs Hashem, the tent of Torah. Malan adam mikaf chayv lekaf schus machzirai acher shechata lemutav." I think this is exactly what we just said. Machzirai acher shechata lemutav. Like it's a gather of ha'ma'or shabai machzirai lemutav. The Gemara says that the Torah itself has some type of a way of penetrating into a person and makes him do tshuva. See, it's a big dilemma, like in the as a mashal, it's a big dilemma in the world of kiruv, because anybody who's done any kind of kiruv knows that the best thing you can do to bring a person along is teach them Torah. It's almost miraculous. It's magic that you teach a person Torah, even it has nothing to do with them. Somehow or another, hamar shaba, which means the light in it, machzir lemutah, brings a person to Torah. The dilemma is that you're not allowed to teach Torah to somebody who's a Talmud Sheina Hagun. So if they have no havamina of keeping Torah or listening to the Torah or believing the Torah, you're not allowed to even teach them Torah. But so how do you ever get that Torah in there? That's a kiruv dilemma.
What's the issue? Will you be putting a stumbling block?
Because first of all, it was a stumbling block. But second of all, that light of Torah, if it goes into the wrong person, translates itself into darkness. Actually makes it worse. So that's the pshat in the Talmud Sheina Hagun, is you're feeding the klipa. And this is brought in Shulchan Aruch even. Shulchan Aruch, it says the Bar Hativ and the Shaar Tshuva. What? Hagun. He's not good. Not fitting. Person who really genuinely wants to learn for the right reason. That's what you're supposed to be teaching Torah, like everybody here. And nobody here is coming here to, What? It doesn't have to be Talmud. Hagun is not Toichei Kabari, but Hagun means that you're not learning to be sarcastic against it. You're not learning to know how to, be critical. You're not learning. I mean, I had a job for 7 years in Melbourne, Australia. I got paid for it to learn with people that were anti-Torah. I taught Talmidim She'enim Hagunim all day long. They flew me in specially to teach them.
Was there an effect?
Amazing effect, but the whole thing might be wrong. So I'm just saying that there is this idea of Torah is hamar shabai machzirai lamuta, that the light of Torah. So now you're talking when you hear something like that, it's something different. It's not like, I'll teach you Torah, I'll show you the beauty of Torah, you'll be convinced of Torah, it's not that, I always tell the story like with Uri Zohar. I always tell the story that I asked him a question. I was just learning with some people that never learned Torah before in their lives here in Israel. And I said to him, what should I learn with them? So he said to me, what are you learning in Yeshua? I said, Baba Kaba. So he says, I learned Baba Kaba. Like, what's the, so he was just hardly from himself. He just became, so I said, Baba Kaba. I said, what are they going to do with Baba Kaba? Like they're not, teaching them Rambam or Nevuchim, something, like something, interesting and appealing to them. So I said stupidly, I don't think you really understand like the secular mind. one of the most absurd statements I ever made. So he said to me, Rabbi Yaacov, he says, you don't really understand Torah. Which was why he was a famous, it was so MS, because if you understand Torah, it doesn't make a difference if you're learning Mesil Shaar, if you're learning Baba Kama, if you're learning Menachos, if you're learning, it doesn't make any difference. You don't have to try to, make it beautiful. Hamar Shabai Machzir Lamutav. Torah turns on, so there's like a chemical reaction within a person, that it turns on. So, by the way, you don't have to be an Apakaris to experience this, even we can experience. You learn Torah in a different place. So he says here, Lashon of the Gemara in Saitach of Aleph, Torah machaba avera, ve'in mitzvah machaba avera. A person does an avera. Let's be careful with these words here. If you learn Torah, two things, like learn Torah and do mitzvahs. He says Torah actually extinguishes the avera. A mitzvah ain't ha mitzvah machaba avera. If I eat treif, if I can wear tzitzis, it doesn't cancel it out. But if I eat treif and I learn Torah, so then the Torah will cancel out the treif somehow. Lashon the Gemara. Torah machaba avera ve'in mitzvah machaba avera. It's a big difference. The Indian machaba, what does it mean to be machaba? Machaba is like kibuyesh, yeah? Indian machaba shlo yishar shum reishim chet klal. The chet is no longer there. We're not even talking you did tshuva. That's the pshat hamor shabai machzir lamutav. That's what it means. Ki yesh tikunei tshuva shezdoinos nasa like kishkagish, just like you'll find by tshuva, that if a person does tshuva, if you do b'meisid, it can become a shogeg. Ulama yedei limud Torah lishma, but if a person learns Torah lishma, berechimu nasa schuyos, not only does it erase the avera, but the avera becomes a mitzvah. It's like tshuva mi'ava. The avera becomes a mitzvah. I'm going to try to explain this, but let's try to see the words. The avera becomes a mitzvah because I learned Torah. Okay, so here I am. Person Chas v'Sholom has bacon and eggs for breakfast, and he comes to the Beis Medrash and he learns some Torah, and now the bacon just became a mitzvah. The fact that if I come and daven, that doesn't help it. Eina mitzvah machaba aver, but somehow or another the Torah, he says nepach avera atzva l'mitzvah schuyas. There's no indication here that it has to be a Torah that it has anything to even do with my breakfast. Stop. Koach of injecting Torah. It's like you say, let's say you eat treif. It's like eating poison, right? So it has its effect. It's not going to help you to do tshuva. It's not going to help you. I mean, you have poison. You ate poison. Was it going to help you to feel bad that you ate poison and to clap that I ate poison, or I promise I'll never eat poison again? You ate poison. So what do you need? You need some kind of an antidote to the poison. You need something which is going to react chemically with the poison to make it into not poison, or even better, to turn it into something healthy. All of a sudden it became a vaccination. Tavlin. It became a vaccination. So the ra itself is nepach l'toiv.
It sounds like it's like a parallel to teshuva. You could do teshuva that has an effect, or just learn Torah without doing.
So we have three things: mikvah, teshuva, and Torah. And there seems to be, according to this, a trifecta of purity. Let me just finish here. What happens in Torah? Kategar nasa sanegar. The prosecutor becomes the defender. V'zeh ma'amarim, and this is what the Gemara means. Ma necholim malim misa'adam mituma l'tara hainu hatame nepach l'tahar. The tamei person becomes a tahar person. Af ohalim oyhalim hi ha'torah malin misa'adam mikaf choyva l'kaf schus hainu choyvos hamischavchim l'schuyos. This is unbelievable. The averos that I did because of Torah becomes schuyos umirosha nasa tzadik. So the dimyan here to the mikveh is that from just like a tamei person becomes a tahar person, the Torah takes the averos. It's not that it weighs down one side of the scale. The Torah takes the averos and it's mahapachim to schuyos. I want to know how that works. Tshuva, I also want to know how it works, but we thought about it a lot because we go through a lot of Yom Kippurs. So how does tshuva work? So tshuva works, to my understanding, how does tshuva take an aver and turn it into a mitzvah? So one of two ways that I understand. The simple way is that a lot of times you'll find that a person does something wrong, bottoms out somehow, so somehow or another that becomes a stepping stone to good. Sometimes a person can do, just don't try this at home, but sometimes a person can do a chet and get so despondent and disgusted with themselves over the chet that kufa drives him to do tov. So it comes out that if I didn't do the chet, I wouldn't have done tov. I think that the Svarim of Reb Nachman, Reb Breslov is full of this idea that the chet becomes a stepping stone to tov. So that's like one way of understanding it. Another way of understanding by tshuva how your averus become mitzvahs magically is that by doing tshuva, one's reached. When we're living in the world of Asiya, you take things up to the world of Yetzirah, to Bria, to Atzilus, and then there's even a higher world, which is called the Yotzer Matnas Chinam. And in the Yotzer Matnas Chinam, there is no Tov v'Ra. It's before the world of distinction. There is no Tov v'Ra. So what's the difference if I did an aver, I did a mitzvah? Once I get to that level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is echad. There's no such thing as Tov v'Ra. That's the pshat on Yom Kippur, that Itzumah Shel Yom is mechaper. Just all you have to do is be mekabel Yom Kippur, and then you're in a place where Itzumah Shel Yom mechaper. There is no Tov v'Ra. Even my Ra becomes Tov. Everything is all one thing. Beseder. Neither one of those seem to apply to Torah, though. Those are the two pshatim that I would say in Zdoinois Nasa Kishkagois Tshuva Me'ava Nasa Kishchuyos, it becomes a mitzvah. Here we're saying something new, Lagamri, something we don't know. That you learn Torah, it's mahapich to a schus. Also, just want to the kasha is that there's no dimyan anyways, because the person is tamei. Not mishapich. It's like you're taking a shower, a spiritual shower. So I'm learning this Gemara. I'm telling over this Gemara to my son in Los Angeles this morning, a half an hour ago. So we got into a typical yeshiva shechakira. Chakir goes like this: when you take a shower, do you feel better because you got rid of the dirt, or do you feel better because you took a shower and something new happened? Okay, so chakira, right? I love the shechakira. So he said, well, there's a way to prove this. So I said, how you prove it? He says, you take a shower and you're all clean. Then take another one 30 seconds later. So does it make you feel better or doesn't it make you feel better? So what's the tachlis?
Increasing marginal utility. How much can you eat before you're not thirsty anymore? It's not going to take a second shower.
Well, I say like this: there's a difference between taking a shower and going to the spa. So you take a shower, so that's sur meira. You go to the spa, that's already hoisif type. Feel good. You can be perfectly clean. It's just different madrega, right? It's a different madrega. Refreshing, feels good. It's not about the taking away. So I'm wondering like this: that if a person goes to the mikveh, woman goes to the mikveh, let's say, is the tachlis only to get rid of the tumah, or is it some kind of a tara? important question. You find that the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, so he toivels and he toivels and he toivels and he toivels 7 times. It's impossible to say that between saying the shame and 5 minutes later saying the shame, he was roya keri or he became tamei. Almost stubborn. So the teretz is l'chayra that of course he goes to the mikveh the first time to get rid of any tumah, and then they're watching him all night, and the whole thing, the whole Mishnah there in Yuma. But then afterwards he's moisif tara al tarasai. I think so. The pshat is that the taras hamikvah is not just cleaning; it's actually mahapach the tumah into tahara. I think.
There may be a right for that is you can't just go into a swimming pool of the Abba himself. It has to be
very interesting because the Hasidim so makbid on being toiveling every morning. Some more than every morning even. I spent a Shabbos in Mezhebush with Rav Morgenstern, as a makubal, and I think during Shacharis he left Shacharis at least 7 or 8 times to go to the mikveh. Where'd he go? He's an ish tahar to begin with. He's like a tzaddik of a person, the Indian is to be. It occurred to me that I always thought that Hasidim go to the mikveh. We have here Rav Tursky, so before he gets here at 6:45 in the morning, he's up and he has a seder learning, and then he goes to the mikveh, and then he comes here. And by the time 6:45, half the day's over, with the mikveh. I don't do it, but I always thought that the pshat in the mikveh was takonas Ezra. You go to the mikveh to get rid of tumah, but apparently it could be this nachazach that what you're doing is you're being moisef kedusha. So I saw that Reb Dessler, in explaining the Mesilas Yesharim, was explaining the Gemara says Tara maybe l'dei kedusha. Pinchas ben Yair gives all kinds of steps as to how the growth works, and what it says is Tara maybe l'dei kedusha, and that's the order of the Mesilas Yesharim. So what is Tara? How does that work? Tara maybe l'dei kedusha. So the answer is that once a person becomes tahar, let's say through a mikveh, so then all of a sudden you're making a makam chalois for kedusha. So you can learn that either the person himself, like allowing the person to heal, and then it naturally becomes kadosh, or you can learn even more that the aveira gufa, and this is what he's saying over here, the aveira gufa becomes some kind of a mitzvah somehow. Like have to really expand your mind to think about the fact that a person's downfalls can really be the catalyst for something good.
Just because it's a catalyst doesn't make the Avera good. It
You still have to do
bring you
tshuva.
forward to now do something good. It's a separate thing.
Look, I'm not sure if that's true, because I'll give you an example. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan sees Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish, not from, going swimming in the Jordan River. He's going swimming in the Yarden. He's not. Rabbi Yochanan is there. I don't know why they're both by the Jordan River. They both lived by the Kinneret, but they went down to the Jordan River. I guess a better swimming place, bathing place. Rabbi Yochanan looks at Reish Lakish and he says to him, what you are and what you do, your koach, your chayil, that is for Torah. That is Torah. So meaning like his, and the Maharsha explains that your Yetzer Hara Gufa should be used for Torah, should be used l'toiv. And that inspired Reish Lakish. I mean, maybe it wasn't just 2 words, maybe there was a whole conversation. But it inspired Reish Lakish that not, what am I supposed to do, leave my whole life behind? No, don't leave your life behind. What you are and what you have, this is like perfect. Turn this into Torah, you have tremendous koyach. Listen, haven't we all seen this with people? That dafka, the Yetzer Hara, or the Taiva, or the Kochos, they can make a person great. Not just leaving them, using them. So cholavavcha. But Here's a chiddush that only works with Torah. It has to be with Torah. So it means to say that if you learn Torah, it can take, this is what it seems to say, it can take even the negative within me and somehow or another turn it into a positive, it was a positive experience. L'mafreya. Doesn't mean you don't have to do tshuva, but what it comes out to is that mikvah, tshuva, Torah, they all have this kind of a koach.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what, maybe if we understand deeper what Tumah is, then we can understand this in clarity. By Matan Torah, it took off the Zuhama. So that's going back to Lichet Adam Rishon Chava, which is Tishtush of...
The Zuma of the Nachash.
Yeah, so
Zuma comes from the Nachash.
If we understand Tumah as identifying that with the Zuhama, more or less, so then I think maybe it was in Sibba Shalom, I saw that it's talking about Tumah in the context of lack of clarity, confusion.
It could be. I just want to say this. Even in Matan Torah, though, there were two madregas.
Yeah.
There was getting rid of the Zohar Masa Nachash, Yom HaRishon, and Hiskadshu, and becoming Kaddish. Tara Mevi Lidei Kedusha. Meaning there's an inyan of becoming of Kedusha. See, can I just explain this in a simple way? I'm sorry, I think I missed. I stopped.
So I was thinking that the problem with the analogy is that Tumah doesn't become Tara the way Veras become Tzviyos. Unless you say that if you understand Tumah as confusion, which is associated with the Chet Adam Rishon, then actually it's the Ra, that it induces a certain confusion and Ibruf. So then the Torah creates a clarity, which is a tikkun for that Chet. So it's really...
Okay, but the confusion doesn't become clarity. You're not clear because you were confused.
No, I'm saying, but
you're not helping. You're not helping the kasha.
If you're being chayvul and you're taking off tumah, so maybe an aspect of that is that you're misaking that tishtush and you're achieving clarity.
Okay.
And that's kilu a maisa of achieving clarity, and in that sense, it's daima to Torah. so that using the koich of the lack of clarity to be ma'apachet to something positive.
Let me say something simpler before we end today. Just a little bit simpler than that. The goal in life is kol drachel de'ehu. The goal in life is that whatever you have, whatever you own, whatever you are, whatever your tests are, whatever your challenges are, figure out how to use it for the good. Not do good in spite of your challenges. Figure out how to use it for good. I think about Moshe here, who stutters, Moshe Mernick. So not only is he very open about it, the first thing he says in conversation is, I stutter, so this is going to be a little bit complicated for you, this conversation. Not only that, but he wrote a book about it. But not only that, he's now in San Francisco giving a seminar to hundreds and hundreds of people, showing how the challenge itself has made his life into like an inspiring and fascinating thing, because the challenge itself. I just like kol drachel de'ehu doesn't mean you can get through your challenges. It doesn't mean you can work around your challenges and figure it out, put them on the side. It means that somehow or another, this itself is a challenge. Somehow or another, that whatever is a challenge can gufa be the type. I've seen over and over, not always, but you see over and over again that people have a Shalom Bais challenge. So if you play your cards right, if you really work it, the challenge itself can become the basis of Shalom Bais. I see people that have a health, myself included. You see, a person has a health challenge. All of a sudden you get a diagnosis. Okay, I changed my diet. I changed it. It's not only that it brings you to do toiv, but what starts off, a diagnosis which starts off as a curse of some sort of monster, becomes something that you can deal with to become a blessing, in the sense that itself has you can use it l'toiv. I don't know if there's a branch of medicine or Chinese medicine that's named after this, but I'm just telling you my own experience, even that you can take ra and you can mamish be mahapechet l'toiv.
It's like a therapy. It's not looking at what happens, and you can move on from.
But not just get away from it and lose it. Use a type of it's a very deep thing. So what we're saying over here, just to sum up, is Torah has this koyach of hama'or sheboy machziroi lamuta. What is Torah? What is it? I don't know if it's just magic, or is it that there's a certain, like when you're by limud Torah, it's accessing a certain part of you, which is the everything part of you, a very, very deep part of you, if a person is learning Torah, especially Lishma. It's accessing everything. So now everything within me can turn into blessing. All the darkness can turn into light. It is possible that through the amelus of Torah, even just sitting in a base medrash, like the journey of Torah can somehow move a person, not just from Tumah to Tara, and could be Tumah to Tara's gufa, taisafas kedusha on a person. Maybe that's why people are toiveling all the time, to be moisef kedusha al kedushasam. But it's malanas adam mikaf chayva l'kaf schus. Meaning the Avera Gufa, as he says, the Avera Gufa can become not even just a stepping stone for them, but the challenge, the Avera, the Taiva, that in itself, like Al Derech, like Reb Tzadok says, that you'll be successful in fundraising, if you want to find Balei Tzedakah, look for people that are Balei Taiva. It's always that guy who weighs 320 pounds and likes to eat and he'll give you a good check. It's the disciplined yaki you're not going to get anywhere with. I found it to be true. If you are overweight, I will approach you too.
Are we saying though that still a person who hadn't done an avera before is on a lower level than someone who did tshuva? Or if that same person had not done the Avera before. Isn't there a dialogue with Reish Lakish or someone in Gittin, I think, where someone else is knocking down Reish Lakish because even though he's on such a high madriga, he still is a Baal Tshuva, so he can't reach the same level.
Dialogue is that he said an opinion on the Tumah and Tara of knives. So Rabbi Yochanan said to him, "Oh, you're still a bucky in knives." But the fact of the matter is, look what he did. He used his knife knowledge as a source of Torah. They can say what they want, but that's what he did. And a person is born with a mazel of madim. You should become a shaychet or a moil. It's not just that's what you're supposed to do. In other words, that's what Kadosh Baruch Hu created you. That's what you're supposed to do. Figure out how you're supposed to do it. Okay. So I just wanted to make a quick request. I apologize.